welcome to the Indie Friend Music Business Podcast. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today we are talking with a good friend of mine, Chad Carouthers. Hey, Chad.
Hi, everyone.
Good to have you on here today, man.
Yeah.
Chad is a dear friend, amazing producer, and I was going to read his bio here because it's really good. And we were just talking about AI and how that, spits out really cool things. Let me just say a little bit here. Chad Carouthers is an accomplished music professional. I like that. With over 2 decades of experience in performance and production. Let me boil it down to this. Dude played with Anberlin. And that's about all I need to say. I mean, and you got me at Anberlin. So
a few other things.
A lot of other things. He's played with Carrie Job and some other notable acts. Multi Grammy winning artists Chad has been on the stage with. And that's awesome. But what we're here today to talk a little bit more about, and because we're going to talk about that thing where, there are label artists and Grammy winning artists that have been doing this thing. And they're the people we look up to. Chad understands that world, but he also understands the world of where you're coming from as an independent artist. He works with independent artists in the studio, in his own studio here near Nashville. And he has been a great sounding board for me as I work with independent artists. And also he gets the struggle. Believe me, he's been a musician for so long that he understands that I'm starting something and I'm trying to make something happen. How do I do this? What's my next step? Where do I go? So we're gonna clue in on some of those things today as well. So Chad, dude, thank you again for being on our podcast here today.
Honored.
And I know that if Robbie were sitting here with us, he would say that knowing that you're on this podcast today is kind of one of those. We're just honored that a dude like you would show up and hang out with us on this itty bitty little podcast that we're starting to put out, man. So thank you.
Stop that right now.
We seriously want to help artists, man. Yeah. You know my heart. We've known each other for a while, and you know that I work with people to really help them get momentum and start moving their career. And so the Indie Friend was birthed out of that. And we're seeing so much weirdness and gosh, not only just the industry, but since everybody can put out music now, we have to rise to a different level, a different standard if we're really going to make this thing work and we're going to sustain what we want to do with music. So, a couple things, so let's just get rolling in here. I'm going to ask him some questions. We're just going to be conversational, probably going to laugh a lot. Because if I know Chad, we're gonna laugh a lot.
We got all that out in the beginning. Now it's all serious and rolling. Awkward and
no kidding. And
red lights
if
on.
We need to do the beeps out of things, we'll do that for me, not for Chad. For me, no. We're gonna talk real. We're gonna be pretty candid on this about what we've seen. So first of all, Chad, having been recording for major artists and stuff, do you feel like there's a misconception that once you reach a certain level of artistry, it becomes super easy, and things just really creatively, things just totally are everything you put your hand to is gold. Or what I'm saying is basically independent artists can say, "Oh man, if I was just there, then it would be super easy to be there." Is that the case when it comes to artistry?
No, I think the reason it's easy for those artists, working with bands, from the band side of things, the Anberlins, doing stuff with Israel Houghton, very established artists. I've done records with both of them, and watching how they do records, the reason it's easy for them is there is a confidence in who they are. Over the course of their years of working, they have wrung out all the things that are not them.
Wow. Right.
That is why it's easy. So when we're doing a record for we show up and they'll maybe send out a few really rough demos before before the team gets there. We show up on a Monday, we joke, we just mess around for the day, getting set up, lines run. We'll rehearse even that night, kind of work stuff out Tuesday. By Wednesday, we could press red.
Wow.
And it would be great. But the reason we can do that is because is like he's immediately able to say, I love that. I don't love that. Make that more this.
Yeah.
Because he knows who he is.
Totally.
That is the difference that I think that mature artists or the Grammy winner artists or the people who are we look up to.
Lauren Daigle.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, dude, you look at her first record to where she's at now.
Right.
There is very much so a change that happens, a metamorphosis that happens. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I could keep going, but I think the reason it's easier is because they're fully confident in who they are because of all of honestly, the failures that have happened. So if they put out something that is not 100% them, and it's like, it works, it's okay, or maybe the record flops, dude, they're able to be like, well, never doing that again. I should have gone with my gut, man. When I knew,
I should have gone with
my gut. Like when it
really was.
Exactly. Yeah, when we should have, when I thought, man, that bridge or this song, I don't know if it should be this way or should it be slow or fast or should it even be here on the record? Like if the gut's saying no or whatever it's telling you, I think you should lean into that. And that's why I think mature artists have such an easier time.
Yes, totally cool.
Indie artists, man, they get in their head. The biggest thing, and the thing that pisses me off the most about indie artists, because I love them so much, and this frustrates me. I'll say it frustrates me.
Love it.
It's like when they say, do you like it? I'm like, who gives a crap if I like it? Like, this is your art. This is something that should be so heavy on you that you will just physically be pained if you don't get it out.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you should just operate. And, I mean, I always tell them, too, it's like, Bon Iver does not sit there and ask, do you think they're going to like it?
Right.
Do you think, is it cool? Is it cool? He doesn't give a crap. He puts it out, and because of his boldness and because of his security and who he knows who he is,
right.
That's the attractive thing.
That's it. Yep. That's it. So you've worked on the performance side of things, on big stages, helping facilitate like the concert side of things, but also in the studio where you've recognized then that if you know who you are and where you're going, that's when it becomes easy. So when you're thinking about, man, I'm getting ready to write, I'm doing stuff for a new album, I think the takeaway there is that an indie artist, know who you are and where you're going.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure we've maybe all seen the T-Pain rant that he did. If you haven't, look it up, T-Pain rant. And it's like, he is just losing his mind. It's like, someone do something different. We have this. We have that. Stop trying to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like losing his mind. It was absolutely hilarious.
So good.
But truly, that I think is the secret to the success of countless bands, countless artists, the ones that are weird. Prime example, McGee. Let's talk about McGee. If you don't know who McGee is, like, first of all, he set the guitar world on fire with gear chasing and tone chasing. But the guy played SNL. And if you listen to his stuff, it's like, what is this? This is so strange. My son and I, we're still trying to figure out how to appreciate it. It's very much so in the sense of like an Radiohead, Amnesiac style record.
Right.
You don't fully understand it, but you have to live with it for a little bit. And the guy just made a beautiful piece of art that not only the guitar community is chasing, but it clearly hit pop culture in a way that they invited him to be on SNL.
So true.
One of the biggest stages that we have as a Western culture.
Right.
So be yourself.
Yeah, man.
And I mean, like, stop worrying about what the producer thinks or your fans think. Honestly, if you've never put out music before, you have the greatest opportunity.
Right.
If you actually want to make an impact,
it is, man.
if you really want to make an impact, be 100% yourself. Be truly honest with yourself and like what comes out of your face, what comes out of your hands if you're an instrumentalist, in your songwriting. It does not have to follow this like, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. Like, man, if you really want to make an impact, do something different. Do something that you are wired to do. Because there really is only one of you, and you win. You automatically win.
Sure.
If you do that.
That's so good. That's so good. So one of the things also, when it comes to doing that, you have to, though, know some of the rules to break some of the rules.
True.
In other words, so like if you're in the place where Because I've worked with artists that are like, I just want to be different. I just want to be different. And that's great. But you can't play guitar yet. Like, you've got to get better at your art. You've got to get really, really good at your playing. So I was sitting at Dark Horse today, actually, with doing an artist panel. A great singer was being presented to us. And I asked the question, hey, are you getting vocal lessons? And I could see the shock. Like, yeah. Oh, and she's like, well, I kind of did. And she kind of stumbled over it. I'm like, hey, listen, you're really good. But even Adele gets voice lessons.
Yeah.
You have to keep working on your craft as well. So know the rules and get really good at your craft so you can break the rules at some point and do something totally, totally different. McGee, dude, like, knows and understands his art. It's kind of like Tom Morello, dude. He went to Harvard and now he does weird stuff with toys.
Right, yeah.
And whammies and things like that. But he knows his craft. He knows his thing. So when you're working, let's say, with an artist that's coming into your studio, what are some of the first initial things that you talk to them about when you're getting to know them and you're getting to understand, like, what their vision is and stuff? Like, what are your first kind of initial meetings with an artist?
I'll always ask him, like, okay, like, who are your influences? Like that's always a great one. However, like, just because you have those as influences, does not mean that is what will come out of you.
Sure. Yeah.
And that I think is the biggest thing. So I always ask him, like, what are your influences? That's a big one. And then, have you released anything before? Have you done that stage?
Yeah.
In like the artist process, because for the indie artist who has never released anything, you put a pressure on yourself that, man, like, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
Honestly, your first attempt on anything released, like, it's probably not going to be 100% you, and it's not going to be. You're going to look back on it and be like, I would have done ABC different, or, I wish it was maybe a little bit better. So I always ask them, have you released something before? And if their answer is no, then I kind of know what I'm up against. I'm up against this constant check of, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is it good enough?
Oh, right. Totally.
And I know, like, that's going to be part of our process.
Yeah, man.
When we come up with a cool synth line, you're going to question it rather than, yes, this is it. Make it everything in the song. I want everything to be like focused around that. Like, everything orbit that. That right there is something that hardly any indie artists have ever said to me.
Yeah.
They're so worried about, the release, and is it going to be good enough? Are people going to like it? Don't worry about that. Like, honestly, art is supposed to be polarizing. Yeah. You're supposed to either love it or hate it. The pieces you're like, yeah, it's all right. You never remember them. You never remember it. Right. You go to an art gallery, you're like, that's cool. Or the one, or, like, that's all right. I'm not really, don't hate it or love it. It's just, it's a piece of work. Right. There it is. But the ones that you're just like, you can't take your eyes off of it. If it's horrible, maybe it'd be the worst thing ever, but you can't take your eyes off of it. You're supposed to be polarizing.
Right.
It's better, in my opinion, to be like, oh yeah, their new record, wasn't for me. Because that means someone is going to be like, it was everything I wanted in a record. It was everything I wanted in music. And they finally did it. So you have to realize that you're not going to please everybody. Screw that. Yeah. And these are things that, like, I kind of pick up on early pre-pro meetings. It's maybe even some of our first production works. I always just try to ask, like, hey, which one of these parts do you like better? And I'll play A or B. And watching them either squirm or try to figure out, like, I like them both. But I'm like, no. There's one that you like better.
More. Right.
Okay. So once we kind of land on that and that confidence of, like, no, landing with the gut, going with the gut. Right. Okay, let's keep that energy throughout this whole process. Right on. You're going to end up with the product that you're ultimately going to look back on and be like, man, if I was presented with two options and I went away for a week, thinking about it and, deliberate, which one I want, I'm going to probably end up going with this one. And then you could do that in the moment as well. Like, you're about to press record. Which one do you want to go with? That one. Great. Let's do it. Learn to trust that gut.
Yeah.
You know, go with that thing. And that right there is the artistry. So those are some of the first kind of like checks that I do with indie artists.
Right. Yeah, no, that's really good, because if you can get, if we can get as artists, if we can get to that point where we're just going, man, I love where we're going, because then at the other end of it, when it's done and it's delivered, you have something that you want to listen to, that you want to be like proud of, to hand out and give to people. You're not going, well, I hope people like it. You're going, I don't care if anybody. I love this. This is.
You're
my
talking
thing.
about also intimacy, though, being known.
Yeah, man.
Like for the indie artist, like, man, this is like raw me, you know?
Yep.
That right there is a step that so many indie artists or very beginner artists don't know how to take.
Right.
They don't know how to be completely open and vulnerable to their audience, you know, because we've all ripped apart records. Totally. I did it with Lorde when she released her second album. It was like, well, at least we got the first one. You know, we still got the first record, you know? And then sadly, some of the later Mute Mouth stuff, I was like, fellas, man, just, you know, we got the originals.
Well, it's no reset, but
it's no reset. It's no Armistice.
No
it's
Armistice,
you know,
yeah.
And yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough, but to be really open and honest with your music means you're going to face rejection.
Totally, man.
You're going to face being, you know, ridiculed by some random fan. There's always going to be haters.
I think I read like and this was weird, because when Radiohead OK Computer came out, I remember reading some things that were like, oh, people are not quite sure how to take this.
Yeah.
But then the public spoke after that. And then people kind of leaned into it and were like, whoa, this is earth-shattering stuff.
Because they were on tour with Alanis Morissette. They were doing the alt-rock guitar music thing.
Right.
And then they were like, you know what? We're going to do Fitter Happier and have a record with that on it. You know?
What is that?
Right. So, like, you have to be willing to be open and really, and that takes a boldness that most indie artists struggle with.
Yeah.
And early questions that I ask indie artists, I'm ultimately just trying to build their confidence up to just kind of throw the proverbial middle finger to everybody else and just move forward with what is in them. Yep.
Authenticity, man. That is what sets every artist apart from everybody else, is their true authenticity, dude. So good. So when you're thinking of doing your own stuff, your Royal Ver stuff, which I love, by the way.
Thank you.
What are some of the ways that you kind of summon up that creativity? You know, because it gets hard when you're working with other artists, and now you're doing your own thing. How do you click into your own creativity?
So this is going to sound weird, because, you know, when you do your, like, as a producer, you would think, man, like, he's put out his own stuff, he's going to like be so meticulous and so like, you know, devote everything to it. I honestly treat it as so loose. Yeah. It's almost my opportunity and my chance to not give a crap and truly put out, and when I say put out something subpar, I know that sounds weird, but like to put out something that I know is not my best work. I don't know. It's almost freeing in the sense, because when I work for artists and I work for bands and or churches that are doing records, I mean, like I'm in it with them.
Oh, of course.
Like truly,
man.
like this is your vision. I'm holding it. I'm protecting it. I'm birthing this baby. You know. Yeah. But when it's mine, like I have all of these beautiful fond memories of getting these horrible bootleg recordings of like some of my favorite records or favorite bands, you know, and I mean, like I didn't care about how good the production was. I didn't care about the imagery of the you know, LCR spectrum of it. I didn't care about, you know, oh man, that snare's got a lot of good whatever, you know, I'm not thinking about that.
Like Jeff Buckley's sketches for My Sweetheart the Drunk was like, oh my gosh, because he had passed away by that time. And when I got that, I was just like, I don't care that they're demos. This is it. Like I will listen to this all the time.
There is something that I wanted to capture with my stuff, and it's just that I don't care. Yeah. It's that mentality. So good, and obviously I spent time on it, you know, like you know, diving into it. But like lyrically, once I found something that I was like, yeah, that feels good for right now, I know that these are not the last songs I'm ever gonna make. Right. So I'm able to be like, yeah, that's good for right now.
Whoa. Good. So what you're saying is it's a journey.
Yeah.
Artistry, guys. is a journey. You may be working towards an album now, but you may have 10 albums in you. Be okay with where you're at.
Yeah.
Just be really open, real, and authentic with what you're putting out there, and be really keep getting better at what you're doing. Keep diving into more authenticity. And then by the second album, you're like, oh, I know where I'm going. I know what, we're going this way. And I know what I want. Like Iz saying, man, I know that's it. But could you switch that up a little? You know what I mean? You're making those micro adjustments.
You get dialed in. That's really what it is. You get more and more in touch with your artistry, and you almost kind of become okay.
Yeah.
With what comes out of your face and what comes out of your musical.
That's exactly right, bro. I'm sorry to cut you off there. And I was going to say, because there's this whole thing that has been in the industry for a long time, the sophomore slump. Mm-hmm. You put out your second album. It's not as good as the first one. Yeah. Why is that? Because you're all in your head, and you're all in, now there's money involved, and there's people involved, and there's pressure to make something happen if the first one did pretty good. You don't have to have that anymore. It's so wide open. Like, you can just be super creative on the second one, more even than the first one. Yeah. So or the third one or the fourth one or the fifth one, or if they're all EPs, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. You're just putting out what you authentically are supposed to be putting out.
And also, remember this, you can always remove them from streaming services.
You don't like it.
You don't like it. You get 3 years down the road and you're like, God, that's trash. Delete. You can take it off, especially if you're an indie artist.
Man. Or start a new band.
Doesn't
even matter. With a couple different people.
Well, I mean, what is it? We document history and art and emotions with music.
Right.
We all have the record that, man, the first time we got dumped. We all have the record that we use as this landmark.
Totally.
We all have the record that, man, when you first discovered music or jazz or whatever, you all have the first record that does something for you. Same thing with releases. You put out something, and there's a reason I haven't taken my first 2 songs that I put out under Royal Vera. I mean, I hate them. I really do. I hate them. But the thing is, it makes you tougher and more resilient as an artist, as a creative, to be like, okay, that was then. I don't have to do that again. I can always just go up and go up. And on my very first stuff that I ever did solo wise as an indie artist, I was doing what I thought I should do. All my peers were kind of doing this super producer tricked out, all the producer tricks and, sound design, a lot of synths. And I'm like, I don't know why I did that, because I love guitar music and I grew up playing rock. So why, I leave them there on Spotify and, all that as markers. I have a record that no one knows about. It's under a band called Rogue Pearl. No one knows.
What?
I know. It's a full-length album. It's out there.
Oh, come on.
It totally. And I made it in hotel rooms while I was on tour with different artists. But I leave it there for the sake of being able to look back and be like, man, I was so limited in my gear. I was so limited in my songwriting. I did everything alone. I had a buddy track drums on it for $100 for the whole record. Dude, and I did live drums last. So I leave these pieces of art and work there as markers. Yeah. Man, that was a good moment. I loved that time in my life. It represented a lot of dedication, but I'm not ashamed of it. Right. It's not something that I don't think you should cower by. Just use it as man, that's what it once was. I am now this. It makes you who you are.
So you're using your musical journey and the stuff that you're making as markers in your life, so you can go, oh, I remember when I did that and where I was, and look where I am now, and you can see that growth pattern as well, which really helps you to go, what is in front of me, man? If I'm growing this much, I want to keep growing, and it can really help you to. So when you write some bad songs, so what?
Oh, it's bad. It's so good. So good.
It's all good, man. You write some good ones, you write some bad ones. And then you go, man, I'd like to write with people. And then you start realizing that when you start writing with people, you'll write in the circle of people that you know. And you're going to come up with stuff that's pretty just same as you would write. And then you start to write with people maybe that are a little, how can I say this, more experienced than you. And you start to go, well, I didn't really contribute a whole lot to that. Right. And then you go, man, I got to raise my game. Ha, 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 ha. And you start going and seeing where your disparity is. And you start raising your game on certain things, getting better at your craft. And then guess what? The art rises as well as when you do that.
I see you and I challenge you with that.
Please.
Because
I love this. Let's go.
I recently had a guy in the studio and Integrity was looking at him. Like Integrity sent him to me.
Yeah.
And they were like, he just needs a little bit of, help sonically. His songs are 75% there, but just needs to get over the finish line. So he comes in and in songwriting, this happens, it's like some days you get one and some days you don't.
Totally.
So the first day we wrote, it didn't happen. We didn't get a song. We got like a track and we kind of, got something that he liked musically and it just didn't really, we didn't land on a song.
Sure.
And the first day it was just he and I. So I was like, all right, let's try this again. I'll bring in another writer. And we came in, 3 of us are in a room and it happens again. Same thing. Now, this other songwriter is very accomplished, great credits to her name and all that. So it's not like she was amateur. Sure. Not like I'm an amateur when it comes to production and songwriting and whatnot. But this artist, it didn't land again. And when it didn't land again, after the other writer left, it was just me and the artist. And I was like, hey, man, how did you write these first couple of songs?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, man, just me. And I bought some tracks online. That was it. And I was like, okay. You are worlds better alone. Like, honestly, like if we were to look at you as a brand, you co-writing with people is actually hurting your career.
Wow.
And actually hurting what you do. I tried to, co-write with people for my Royal Vera stuff, and every one of the songs, the session was completely wasted, and I knew what not to do.
Yeah.
So in a way that helped, I guess. But when I told this artist, I was like, dude, you need to stop co-writing because you are such a force of an artist. Like you truly are already an artist.
Yeah.
Just do that alone.
Okay.
And what you need then is a producer to facilitate, not craft and help. There are some indie artists that they don't know what their sound is yet. And so they need some help kind of finding the fences of where they can roam, But this guy was already doing it. He didn't realize how good he was. So you have to find a producer, me, in this situation. In this situation, it was me saying, okay, whoa. I'm actually going to hurt it if I try to touch the song.
Whoa.
All I can do for this guy is you tell me what kind of vehicle you want it to sound like,
right on.
Or what vehicle you want the song, the lyric and melody to live in. And then it's my job to preserve and to just make what you write, lyric and melody, be the best it can be.
So let me clarify my statement there that I made earlier when it comes to, because that is super good, because why? It goes back to authenticity and how you're wired. Yeah. So know your wiring and do you really write really well on your own? And how do you get better at doing that?
How do you get better at doing that? That's just repetition. Honestly, that's repetition. That is the rep of releasing a song, writing it on my own, trudging through production in the cheapest way that I can do it or whatever, but it's 100% me. Yeah. That one rep is so muscle building to your artistry.
Yeah.
Man, like that's the thing. That's the way you get better at it. The other thing is you have to kind of look at the type of artist you're going to be. We kind of talked about, are you a singer-songwriter? Okay. Well, then, like having these really well-crafted lyric and melody and these stories, that could maybe benefit from a co-writer, maybe. But, or if you're like a Gautier or a McGee, and like, it's strange, or a Bon Iver or a Tame Impala. It's like, man, the magic is when you're alone.
Yeah, right.
Like
and that, playing all the instruments.
Right. And maybe poorly playing, this or that. Dude, that to me is how you get better. Just do it over and over and over. What does your calendar reflect? Like, man, I'm an artist. Well, how many songs do you write a week? Like, even if they suck, just get them out, get them done. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have talked with indie artists about doing like almost drills of like, hey, we're gonna do a song in an hour. Like personally, challenge yourself to write and record a song in an hour.
Yeah.
Like warts and all. that right there is just you at the gym doing the reps,
right,
making sure that you are ringing out anything that's not you.
Which is so good coming from a guy that's super creative and can like could like if you I would assume you put a lab coat on and you could go to work and you could dial in every little thing that you're wanting to do and you could make it sound exactly, but that's not creativity.
No, all those production tricks are, it really, you have to look at what the artist is and what they're trying to do. Because I mean, as producers, we've got all the cool tricks in the world. We've got every synth program, all these soft synths. We've got, presets for days. We got the outboard and all that. That's cool. But man, like the thing you have to just keep focusing on is how can you be yourself? Like, don't rely on these production tricks because it might actually overshadow the song.
Yeah.
It might obliterate the when I say the song, the lyric and melody.
Yeah.
The production trick might just outshine it.
Right.
So you only use things like that to enhance what's there.
That's so good.
Or depending on the type of artist, let that be the driving force. Like, man, I want production to drive this, and the lyric and melody almost just kind of take a back seat.
Yeah, man.
You go look at like early records of like My Bloody Valentine, Cockatoo Twins, and like early stuff like that. They were experimenting with music first, painting these wide palettes of just sonic, a wall of sound. Essentially, the music had never sounded like that before. Lyrics are almost in the back seat. It's an afterthought. It just kind of like helps facilitate that part of the mind. Like, oh, there's a human voice in there. Cool. But it's not the feature. Right. The feature is the sound, the production. So, I mean, there's plenty of artists that are like that. A lot of them, no, I'll stop there. But yeah, I'll stop there. That's fine. But yeah, we can definitely put the lab coats on and go to work. But I mean, we've all had to roll turds and glitter as producers. Right. When
something happen out of nothing.
Right. When the client comes in, the artist comes in, like, I got this song, and you're like, wow, that's pretty bad. I honestly hate that. You have to roll it in glitter to make
you're
them
helping them.
Right. Yeah.
Like their next step.
Right. But that's the thing. It's strictly for the next step.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I want them to know. Like, dude, this is not your last song. Right. Like, yeah, you need to be invested in your art, but also let it be fluid, let it be just, it's going to happen. It's going to be honestly a flash in the pan. This is the reality that so many artists don't get. They think that they release a record into the wild and like, everyone's going to listen to it, man. No one's going to listen to it. It's depressing. Yeah. But you have to realize there's so much music out there. And the thing that will make an impact is longevity. And the thing that's going to make an impact is, man, that's different. Wow, that haven't heard anything like that this week. Right. I'm going to keep coming back to that. That's something new. It's challenging. Yeah, that right there is how you make an impact.
That's so good, man. Which is different. Which is exactly what we're talking about, authenticity. So I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit because I really want to get your thoughts on this. You're a gear dude. We were talking a little bit about rig rundown earlier. Yep. We're talking about what pedal boards look like. We've done that. We've talked. You've seen my pedal board. We've talked gear. I've been at your house. What do you think of technology now? Because we talked a little bit about that just in that last little piece on, you can't sometimes don't let the technology run it, right? The song and the music kind of do what it's supposed to do,
or know when
to follow what. Yeah, totally. But where do we stand today with AI? What do you see as being the positives and the negatives now of where we are with AI and technology and music?
So let's do the production side first. So for me, the way that I use AI in production, there are a couple of really great plugins. Waves just released this year.
Yes.
The Waves Curve, the AQ, and there's another one.
One of our partners at the Indie Friend, just to let you know, Waves is now a partner with us, which is pretty cool.
Hey, sick. Love that. Yeah. And there's like that, I think it's like IDK or something. It's a compressor,
Totally.
And the thing that I like about those is just speed of use. Yeah. That's really it, man. Boom. And I like that. The thing though, that's how I use AI. I really don't use it. That's how I use it in production. I'll use it as maybe the fourth songwriter in the room. That's another way that I'll use it. I'm sure a lot of artists will maybe do that. It's like, it's a free, easy way to know what not to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't like any of those lyrics. Oh, but I do think that one line could be cooler if it was said like this. And then you go from there.
Right.
So I've used it in that format. I think, and I've talked to a lot of guys because I'm working on that animated film, like doing the music for that, and the score composer for it, my counterpart, we had a whole conversation on AI, and he was like, you have to realize so many, like, it's all the low-hanging fruit's going to get taken first.
Yeah.
However, you still have to know how to prompt something. You still have to know, like, when a client comes into my studio, an artist comes into my studio, and they're like, I want it to sound like I'm floating in a cloud of purple, and you're smearing like joy on my face. I'm like, what is that? You don't even know I don't even know what that means, right? You still have to know how to prompt something,
right?
Because if an artist just typed that in, they're not going to get. There's so many of the free songwriting or dumps out a song or whatever, and some of that stuff sounds pretty great. I felt like rock was going to be safe from it, because I'm like, man, pop, trap, hip hop, all that stuff's going to be really easy to replicate.
Easy, yeah.
But then when I started hearing like some alternative like guitar music done through AI, I was like, it was a little alarming. However, the thing about music that I don't think will ever go away is that personal connection of why we go to music.
Yeah.
And it's to be heard and be seen by someone else.
Yes.
Once again, this is why it's so important for you as the indie artist to be 100% yourself. Sing about where you're at. Sing about what you're struggling with. Sing about that, and don't button up every song. If you're a Christian artist,
let it sit.
Right? People
don't
want to be heard.
The question.
No, some people there's a song called "Prom Queen" by Beach Bunny that my daughter loves, and the whole thing is about, these girls that, the singer's a female, and she's like, would you like me if I was pretty? Would you like me? It's like, they don't answer it. Right. They don't answer this question. Yeah. It's just someone in that moment had a hard, just emotional moment.
Right.
They felt broken. They felt hurt. And someone then felt seen by it. You as the listener, you clearly feel like that person sees me, knows me. Someone else, a person sees me and knows me, and I don't feel alone anymore. Some computer telling you it's gonna be okay, you're gonna be fine, to music or whatever, it doesn't have the same weight. Yeah. So it might be entertaining, just the cool like or whatever, musically it's cool, but there's that emotional element that I think AI can't do. So I don't use it ever to build songs. I'll use it to maybe as a launching point if I'm writing alone. I'll use it for that.
Cool.
And then in production, I'll use a few AI plugins. Mm-hmm. But even then, be careful. Yeah. Learn why that plugin's doing what it's doing.
That's a great point. Learn why it's doing what it's doing, and use it as a learning tool as well. Yes. So you can do things better and have a good handle on it, not just lean on it so much.
No, because you are wired a certain way. Like your ear is tuned differently than mine, and so there's a reason that you will maybe add 6 dB of this frequency versus when I would only add 3, and neither one of them's wrong. It's just different. Yeah. So learn from these tools. Yeah, anyway, good. That's how I use AI.
So good. All right. So one last question here. I think we're getting to the end. I would love to hear what you're excited about right now, whether that's music that's being created or that you're creating in your studio or that you're doing, or it's technology. Like, what really excites you right now about music?
I feel like it's a big question because there's like that, because I live in a couple of worlds. I live in the studio rat. I'm a studio rat. I live in the producer, like artist development, and I live as a hired gun, live player and things like that. The thing that I'm excited about, well, I'll tell you what excites me. Yeah. When an artist comes in and they truly don't care about anybody else, and they are focused on what makes them musically fulfilled. Yeah. That to me is what makes me so excited.
Right on.
Like, I go up in the studio knowing that, man, I don't have any rules. Like me and this client, we don't have any rules. We want to push the.
You just got me a little excited about that. Like
totally,
I want that, dude. I want to go in and just be like wide open.
And a lot of clients might say that, like, "Oh man, I just want to go for it." You truly have to mean that. Not everybody truly means that. And here's the thing too. Like I said earlier, find the fences. You know, like there's a couple of clients that I've worked for that they're like, "Yeah, I want it to be like make it heavy." I'm like, okay. Okay.
Are we talking 5-string?
Well, the thing is, it's like, okay, what is heavy in your opinion, you know? And so you got to find the fences. Last year, I did a project, and it came out this year. Rachel DeLong is her name, and it's a 4-song EP. And she was really nervous about, oh man, she wanted it to be energetic, but she didn't quite know her sound yet. And so we released the music, and it was a big deal for her to take those steps. Now, the thing that makes me excited is she has come back around, and she's like, okay, now I know who I am. I know what I want to do for this next record.
Right on.
And when you have an artist that fully knows, like, man, this is what I'm wired to do for this album cycle.
Yeah.
It may change next one. It may be totally different for the next album. But for now, this is who I am. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I love. Really. Let's rip on this.
Yeah.
That right there is what excites me in music. Also, when I see guitar music come back, like honestly seeing bands like McGee, when he played SNL, it brought a joy to me that I'm like, dude, this is so weird. I didn't understand a word he said on SNL, but I loved the fact that it was guitar driven.
Yeah.
I love the resurgence of rock and how bands like Sleep Token are beating like artists like Selena Gomez and all of this. Not because I think rock should be superior, but it's the fact that people are just we're watching pop culture make a shift and a turn, and it happens all the time.
So fun. It's cyclical, and things change. It's fun to be in that change when you're a creative.
Yeah, you might remember, but it was like 1999 or something like that, and there was a show called TRL. It was like this
Carson Daly.
the request show, and they would show music videos and all that. But I remember seeing
for
it was
all
like
you kids out there.
Yeah, all you kids out there. But I remember it was a big deal because like the boy bands were like reigned supreme, right? The day they were dethroned by a rock band. Yeah. I remember that day thinking like something is happening. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what this means.
So good.
But I was so excited about seeing a culture shift. Yeah. And I really want to see that in multiple genres.
Man, okay. A couple takeaways here. We're going to wrap up our podcast today.
So short, man.
Feels like we could really go a couple more. Dude, I just love hanging out with you. It gets my brain pumping on creativity, which I love. But
I'm being told by the officials we have 9 minutes. I don't know what this means.
Got a little time then. I will say this. One of the things that I think that back to that tide shifting a little bit. I feel like what happens is something really cool happens, and then there's this long slope into other things, and it kind of becomes the same. Record industry takes it over, churns out more of the same because they're looking to make money off the
economics
same stuff.
Is a real thing. Yeah.
It's a real thing. Yeah. We all get it. We need to make money for ourselves too in music. Like we want to be successful monetarily so we can continue doing what we're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually really good. Mm-hmm. But we can't be caught up in that it's all about that, which can happen. And it becomes this long tail of mediocre creativity, mediocre music, mediocre things.
Yeah.
What does it take? Like you're saying guitar music, maybe coming back, you're seeing some things. What does it take culturally for a big shift to happen, do you think?
Look at what happened in late 80s. There was this fatigue of hair metal. Like at some point, it happened in the 70s with disco. People were so done with it. At some point, everyone was like, if I hear one more, like I'm going to throw up.
Right.
Okay, so then it died. There was a literal day that disco died. Okay, I can't remember what it was.
Right.
Then we saw it happen through the 80s, and we had this big, what pop culture was at the time, was these like hair metal, larger than life artists. Well, the shift that happened then was 1991 or whatever it was when Nevermind came out. And we had the big push of that. Okay. Then it happened in early 2000s with bands like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. The minute that they put out Maps and alternative music was then heartfelt and strange and low production, like we had just come off this hyper focus or hyper produced out stuff from the early 2000s, the loudness war and all that stuff. This is where we can get nerdy.
Let's go. I dig it.
What it just means is like, I feel like there is such a cultural sonic fatigue that happens. I mean, like you watch, bands like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, or artists like them, like they just get removed. The mob gets so annoyed with them. Benson Boone is another one. Please stay. Everyone hates that song. It's like people are so done with this, like, I don't know, this Instagram viral sonic thing that's happening. And I think that's what it takes. It's done out of like, I've seen this, heard this 1,000 times. Please give me anything but that. And
so like, to me, like the little blip on the radar was Richmond, north of Richmond, you know, what was his name? Viral star guy, some guy in the woods with a big beard.
Oh, yeah, you know? The country dude.
Yeah, exactly. And it just went viral so quick because it was so different and it was like authentic and it was, and speaking the language of the people that were listening. Like
it was so different from what country was doing at the time.
Right.
We got so much trap music, trap sounds and stuff like that, and culture music.
Bro country and all that kind of stuff, you know?
It was a refreshing thing, and that's why I think culture went to it. So to wrap up, because the officials are now yelling, saying 5 minutes, the thing to take away is if you already are trying to chase a sound that has already come out, you've lost.
Whoa.
Like you've automatically lost.
So good, Chad.
The thing is, people, you know, that's why Soundgarden, I mean, honestly, got signed. The grunge thing was happening and they're like, we need more of those, you know?
Right.
Look at, dude. So the authenticity thing is key. Even if it's you put out the record and it bombs right now, or quote unquote bombs, doesn't even,
What is success? Really?
Right. Just keep going.
That's success.
Keep going. It's the ones that don't stop.
Yeah.
That they're the ones that are actually successful.
So good. Number 2 would be AI. Use it as not a crutch, but as a learning tool to understand what is going on. It's fine to use some of those things in writing and production and things, but don't lean on it so heavily that it takes over.
I'm working with a client right now that he can't play a single thing. But he goes to these like pre-made, you know, you type in a prompt or whatever and it pumps out a song. Yeah. And he was like, dude, these are just the way I can do demos. Like I want it to sound big and full, but he goes, I don't want to use that, but I want it to have this feeling.
Yeah.
Great. And that's how we're using it.
Great starting
We don't use anything from it,
right,
other than just like, oh, that's the direction. You know, because you might say, I want it to be this. We're going to have different of opinion. Right. But if we can sonically point to something, make it that.
Yes.
Got it. Yo, I can do that. I can do that.
And that's what a good producer is going to do, like Chad. He's going to go, hey, listen, I hear where you're coming from. Let's do that, you know, and he's going to help put the guide rails in. So the same thing then comes to the last point, which would be like, things that excite me and excite you as musicians and creatives are doing something outside the box that aren't what's happening right now. But what else? What give me again, recap what excites you the most.
Honestly, if someone did something different in song format.
Awesome. I'd love that.
Look at Neon Trees, Mess Me Up.
What is that?
That is a great song.
Totally.
Because by the time the second chorus hits, they actually do a down chorus, and it makes you think, wait, did I just miss the bridge?
I did.
I missed the bridge. No, you didn't. They just did a down chorus for the second one, and it's a shorter song. Do something different in song format. Get out of this thing that we've been doing. Do it through composed. My God. What?
Right. Why not?
Yeah.
So good.
That's the thing that would make me the most excited.
That's awesome.
Right now.
Man, guys, thanks, Chad. Chad Carouthers being here with us today on the Indie Friend Music Business Podcast. Obviously, you can find us at theindiefriend.com. We're here to help you understand and navigate the music business, but also we want to help you with creativity and connecting you with the right people. That's why we're called the Indie Friend, because we connect you with our friends that are doing this thing. So thanks, bro.
Anytime.
Really appreciate
I love
it.
Here.
All right.
Go make music right now. Yes,
go make music.
You've been looking for a breakthrough, trying our best to make do. Every day is something new, but change gon' come, oh yes, it's true. Brighter days are straight ahead.